Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cardiology Technology Info session. The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Now, before we get into the actual presentation, I'm going to just do a couple of polls to find out who's in the room, virtual room with us. And now I'm going to hand it over to Cindy Masro, the program head.
Thank you, Julie. My name is Cindy, and welcome to the diagnostic session today. Thanks for coming. I see some people are from different provinces. That's great. So we're going to be talking about the program, the Cardiology Technology program today. And the cardiology technologist, they look at the function of the heart by being part of a few different diagnostic tests. And they work within an interprofessional team to do that as well. So being part of a team in the hospital is a really important piece of that. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a program overview. Like I mentioned, we work with patients in the hospital, and in order to do that, we have a blended program delivery. So we have online courses at BCIT in our cardiology program that are flexible. You can take courses from term to term, different course loads. You can study part-time, you can study full-time. The other piece of the blended program is there is a lab, a 2-week lab here at BCIT that puts your knowledge into practice before you go out to your clinical rotation. And we'll talk about the clinical rotations in a minute. The lab session provides active practice and application here at BCIT on campus. So you need to be prepared to commit to 2 weeks at BCIT after your first 2 terms of the course. Next slide, please. The clinical practicum, there's 2 of them. So after the first 2 terms of the program, there is the lab that we talked about, and then there's a practicum at a hospital, and that runs for 10 weeks. Now, practicums only take place at hospitals, mostly hospitals. I think we have 1 clinic in Calgary that we work with that does all the modalities. And so there's the second practicum is 16 weeks long, and that's after you finish the entire didactic portion or courses online. Students are working hands-on in a hospital environment, working with all kinds of patients. So we have to have really good patient care skills, communication skills, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. You get exposure to advanced areas of practice. So we do have 3 advanced areas of practice, which I will mention in another slide. So you get exposure to all of that, and also some special procedures and special areas of practice, like going into the OR, going into pacemaker lab, going into cardiac rehab. So there are many different things that you can do after the program, but the clinicals 10 and 16 weeks, both of which we try to place you at a site that's close to where you are in your own city. But students have to be prepared to relocate for those clinicals if there are competing numbers in that area. Next slide, please. So the job opportunities and career outlook for a cardiology technologist, it's getting a lot better. Often start with casual employment and salaries at about $28 an hour. Since the start of COVID, we've had an increased number of demand for healthcare professionals, particularly nurses, I think, but the allied health professionals are not far behind. So it is a strong profession to enter now, any of the allied health professions. Positions can be found after you graduate and write your national exam in hospitals, medical labs, like I mentioned, cardiac rehab facilities and medical device companies, sort of like Philips, GE, pharmaceutical companies, perhaps all of those things. So casual employment, full-time employment, and we're seeing more offers right out of the gate when you finish your clinical for full-time employment. Next slide, please. Okay, we talked a little bit about the laddering opportunity. On the right-hand side, you'll see that we have a diagram of how those opportunities are presented. At BCIT, in the cardiac sciences umbrella, we have 3 different programs. One is the cardiac rhythm device program, otherwise known as, more commonly known as the pacemaker program. And you have to have your diploma and 2 years of clinical practice before going into that program. The electrophysiology program, so working in the EP lab, and the cardiovascular program, working in the cath lab at various hospitals. So they're all, the diploma program that we just talked about is a non-invasive program where you're working with patients and doing electrocardiograms and different non-invasive tests. These 3 here are more invasive. So we're looking at cardiac pacemaker implants and working with the EP program and in the cath lab where they do different implants as well. We have another awesome opportunity with Thompson Rivers University. They have a health sciences degree, and we have an affiliation agreement with them that allows for our students to transfer credits from both the diploma and any advanced programs courses that they've taken, and move on from there to complete a health sciences degree. So that's pretty cool. And if you need any more information about that, you can contact the program and we can give you a sense of how long that will take. So those are our laddering opportunities. Next slide, please. And I have a picture here of Robin Unger. She's a cardiology diploma graduate. So she finished the cardiology technology program, and it just says a little bit about how it worked for her. She really liked the combined applied science with the interprofessional atmosphere and team care, patient care with team collaboration. She liked the technical skills, making a difference in patients' lives. She also went to further her career with us, completing the advanced certificate in cardiac rhythm device technology, and she's also working on electrophysiology technology program. She really liked the flexibility of the distance learning platform, and she felt well supported throughout her clinical placements by BCIT. Tells us that the job prospects are bright in this rapid expanding field. She does work in the field, so she does know that. And yeah, so she's one of our top graduates. She also teaches for us now, which is a wonderful opportunity as well. She teaches for us in the lab, and we utilize people that work in the field to help you with your technical skills in that 2-week lab. So that's Robin. She also sits on our program advisory committee and helps us out there. So what a well-rounded graduate there. And we can pass on any questions you have for Robin as well if you want that as well. So next slide, please. So there's some entrance requirements that I just want to go through with you. Most of them are on the website, all of them are on the website, but we're just going to talk briefly about them. What the successful applicant profile looks like. So a really strong academic history is important. So looking at your courses in high school, this is a post high school program, but a lot of our graduates come to us with degrees or partial degrees. Also certificates in various health fields are really welcome and make for a very diverse student. We do look in our questionnaire at relevant volunteer and or work experience, and we realize that with COVID, that hasn't been possible for volunteer work. So right now we are looking at things, older than 2 years older than 2 years. So if you have recent volunteer work, that's great. Hands-on patient care is ideal, but we realize not everybody has that. So anything you've done. We also look at outstanding accomplishments you may have, so scholarships and things like that. Knowing the profession really well before you apply to the program is ideal and will show up in your mandatory questionnaire. And then we do a CASPER test, which is looks at the softer skills, ethics and communication, that kind of thing. And it's successful CASPER results. You are competing against your cohort that applies. And so we normally are taking between 16 and 20 per intake. That's the September and January intake. Next slide, please. So we have 2 intakes, like I just mentioned, September start and a January start. And the application processing period is right there beside. September, we have January 2nd, it opens and closes April 30th. And then January starts in July and closes October 1st. So right now we just closed the January start application deadline, and we're reviewing applicants, looking at CASPER tests and that sort of thing. A little bit more about what qualifies to be successful both in the program and the profession. We do look at that on the mandatory questionnaire, and I like a really strong understanding of communication skills, not only the ability to work independently, but in a team. And if you can demonstrate that in your application, that's really important. Any examples you have from work, even if it is customer service, that's okay. There is a lot of stress in this job. Mental fatigue and physical health is required. The students that go to clinical and also as in the profession will move around the hospital in all different departments. There's lots of walking. There's lots of ECGs done in high stress departments in the emergency rooms and things like that. So strong decision making, problem solving skills is helpful not only in the field but in your studies. Computer literacy, of course, but we see so many people and mostly all our applicants come with that. And really an affinity for technology. So if you like technology, the technology changes rapidly in this field, as it does in many other allied health professions. And so it is an important part of the profession to be successful. Next slide, please. The application process and steps. It's really important to review those entrance requirements and processing dates carefully. Any upgrading you need if necessary, or courses that you haven't taken. The admissions department will take your documents, your transcripts and additional documents, and convert. You have to convert to PDF files. You'll fill out the mandatory questionnaire, which is 50% after you meet all the academic requirements and you are looked at as a complete file. There's 2 pieces. 50% is the mandatory application questionnaire and 50% is the CASPER test. You want to apply online to prior to the deadlines. I'm just going to look at after you apply, there is a short list and a deadline date. Normally the CASPER test takes 2 to 3 weeks before the results come in. And then we compare those with the mandatory questions on the questionnaire, and then we make a final selection. We have a panel that looks, and so it's not just me, it's other people that are on that panel that look at and score your results using a rubric. So the whole process can take an average of 46 weeks after the deadline, and so we appreciate your patience on that one. Next slide, please. And I'm just going to turn it over to Julie to talk about supporting your success in the program and at BCIT.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm going to just briefly cover some of the key areas. There's important student supports that we offer in all aspects. So starting with accessibility services, BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to contact our Accessibility Services Department. The Counseling and Student Development Department are available to help enhance your educational performance and maximize success as a student. All of these links are available on our website, but we'll put a few in the chat in case you wanted to look some of them up right away. If you are of Indigenous background, BCIT Indigenous Initiatives is here for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding options. BCIT's Health Services is a health clinic located on the Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students year-round. We also have our student financial aid and awards. This is where bursaries and scholarships are available. We strongly recommend that you apply for them. They're there for you. So please take a look at that specifically when you process your application. And then the last but not least is recreation services. BCIT has a fully functioning gym with showers, change rooms, steam rooms, saunas, everything available for students at the campus. So that's a great additional service as well. Our next slide, and that's just a touch on some of the services. There's a whole gambit of services that we do offer. So I encourage you to look at that further. Program advising. Program advising is available via telephone, in-person drop-in, and email. So please don't rush to take a photo or write this information down. Everyone in the attendance and everyone that registered for this event will get a copy of the slide deck and the recording. So this information will all be in there. And lucky for us, we have an actual program advisor available at the end of the session to spend a few minutes answering any questions that you may have. And with that, I pass it over to Suki.
Sorry, just had to unmute myself. Hi, everyone. Yeah, you guys are a bit quiet. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to ask about entrance requirements, we're more than happy to help. So as Julie mentioned, you can always email us. You can do a Zoom virtual drop-in or on campus. But if some of you are obviously far away, then this is a great opportunity to ask anything that you might have on your mind.
Suki, while we're giving them a couple of minutes to just ask some questions, are there any parts that Cindy and I might have missed when going over the service areas or the application process that you might want to cover again?
No, honestly, that's pretty thorough. Yeah, so just kind of doing it step by step is the best way to go. So take a look at the entrance requirements first, and then you can always email program advising if you have done courses out of province or even out of the country, and then we can help provide resources on how to take a look at the equivalencies if you're not sure.
Okay, so it seems like we have had a really thorough event and there's no questions.
Sorry, I have a question.
Oh,
This is now. I know you have a part-time, right? Part-time program, right? What's
So,
the?
go ahead.
Yeah, what's the differences between the part-time and the full-time?
So the program is one program, but you have the option to do it part-time or full-time. And the difference is you're allowed to take as many or as less courses as you like. So for example, we say a full-time load will graduate of 4 to 5 courses per term, will graduate you in 2 years. If you want to do that 2 courses per term, you'll have a longer period of time. And that's how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, it's flexible. Okay. So,
yes.
Okay, that's great. But what about if you like right now I'm a part-time, I'm applying for a part-time, but I want to do more. I can speed up, right? So okay,
Absolutely.
choose more course. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the magic of this program. It really lets you take it at your own speed. Now the courses have the 12-week sessions are not self-study. You do have to meet the requirements within the 12-week session, and you have to, every module has expectations and exams and quizzes and things like that. So it's not self-study, but the courses you can take as little or as many as you'd like. And it really affords people to be able to work and study. And so that's a wonderful thing. I think we had a couple more questions in the chat. How competitive is the program? Right now it is quite competitive. It's considered one of the competitive programs. We generally get about, I mean, we're a little bit lower on the applicants since COVID, but about 60 applicants for 16 spots. So it is really important. I wanted to mention that the mandatory questionnaire be answered accurately. So not only the content be very good, but that the questions are read carefully and that you answer what is asked of you. I think there was another question about full-time. Erin or Julie, was there something in there about full-time?
Can students do full-time study online?
Yes. So that, like I said, the program is part-time or full-time. It's all online except for the 2 weeks that you come to the campus and the clinical practicum. So every other course is online, whether you're doing it full-time or part-time.
For those in Manitoba, where is the clinical?
So I'm just trying to remember the name of the hospital, but we do have a clinical right in Winnipeg. There's also a site in Brandon, and so those are sort of the two places where you can go right now. St. Boniface, I think it's called, in Winnipeg.
Would I have to travel to BC to do the questionnaire and the Casper test?
No. So the questionnaire is done online and submitted to program admissions, the admissions program, and the Casper test is also done online. And Casper collects those results and sends them to the program.
Is there any bachelor or continuing education after graduating from the cardiology program?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about that. You might have missed it. There's some advanced programs like the cardiac device program, the EP program, and the cardiovascular program, and all of them require you to graduate from the program and also to have 2 years of clinical experience in cardiac care. Then I think the second part of the question was, what was the second part of the question, Julie? Oh, the degree. So the TRU degree that you can go on to do, we have an agreement with them, so you get the transfer credits, but many other people go on to do different degrees while working or post credential.
There's a couple more questions. Is there an opportunity for the employer-sponsored spots in an intake given the limited number of admitted students each intake? Is there an opportunity for placement in Northern Health? Looks like that's two separate questions.
So there is an opportunity for placement in Northern Health. I think the first part of the question was purchase seats. Is that what it was, Julie?
For employer-sponsored spots in an intake, is there an opportunity for employer-sponsored spots in an intake given the limited number of admitted students?
Yeah, so we're not doing seats like the perfusion program where the employer sponsors the seat, but a lot of employers, particularly in Saskatchewan, some in Winnipeg, will pay for folks to actually complete the program, but you still have to meet all the entrance requirements.
How long is the duration if you do full-time?
2 years.
And where do you find out tuition, fees, and costs if you are from outside of BC?
It's the same as if you're inside BCIT. So if you look on the website, you can, we don't like to give you a big picture of the whole cost of the program because the fees change. But if you look on the website under each individual course, you'll see what the cost is per course, and then you can sort of go from there.
Couple more questions. If I have a bachelor's degree in nursing from outside Canada, is there a possibility that some of my courses would be credited?
Absolutely.
Very nice. If I underwent this program, can I continue to the cardiovascular perfusionist program?
So the cardiovascular perfusion program is considered very, very competitive. You do have to have cardiac experience. So this could be a pathway to get to that place. If you finish the program and had 2 years of practice, and you also need a degree to get into the perfusion program. So certainly it increases your chances and you're allowed to apply to that program. Yes.
And it appears that that would be all.
Fantastic. Really appreciate all your questions. They're great ones. And you can contact Program Advising, or you can contact myself on the website. Is there another? All the courses taken from this program would be credited if I want to study from another university. So that's for TRU. So all the courses you're given credit for. For other universities, that's dependent on what they do, UBC, SFU, and other universities across Canada.
Okay, with that, I'd like to thank Cindy for that excellent presentation, Suki, the program advisor, and Aaron and Darren for their administrative and technical support. Thank you, everyone. Look out for that email with the recording and the slide deck. Have a great weekend.